There's no question about it. COVID-19 has shaken up everyone's lives, one way or another.
Me? I was practicing social distancing before the government told us to do it.
Staying at home, avoiding unnecessary travel, don't touch other people, wash your hands. This wasn't life-changing stuff. This was already how I lived. In a weird way, I've been preparing for this pandemic the whole time.
That's not to say quarantine hasn't had any effect on me.
Just before the lockdown started, I'd just got my social life together. I was part of a group of like-minded, autistic people, and we'd been regularly organising meetups to play games. Of course, when COVID-19 came onto the scene, those meetups had to be put on hold indefinitely. I was fine with this for the first 3 months, but now it's really beginning to get to me. Depression is now starting to take hold during my afternoons, as I crave that feeling I once had back in primary school. That sense of community that I'd had, and then lost, then found, again, then lost and found again. It's easy to get bogged down in all the negativity of this pandemic.
But believe it or not, it hasn't been without some positives.
Before the lockdown, I'd never used Skype before. I'd always heard about how people used it to communicate, but I never thought I'd need to use it. But in order to continue the wildlife monitoring group at Pennyhooks Farm, both I and a few others had to finally learn how to use Skype. Despite some technical issues that can complicate the process, Skype is now something I use often and with relative confidence. Full disclaimer, I am not being paid by Microsoft to say that.
If the pandemic hadn't forced me to stay at home and learn how to use Skype, I would probably have lost contact with the wildlife group and lost yet another community.
I'm not normally one for frequent shopping trips, but I did make a few trips out for food and clothes towards the end of the lockdown restrictions. In all honesty, shopping seemed better during the pandemic. There are never any large crowds in the shops, and everything is always kept stocked. I know this wasn't always the case. I'd heard the tales about the panic buyers, the coughing trolls,
And that brief time where toilet paper just straight up disappeared. Thankfully, all that madness seems to have stopped. Thank goodness.
But really, how have I coped during COVID-19? Well, I've tried. I've tried my best. I've tried as best as I could. But one big source of relief has come in the form of Pennyhooks Farm. Sure, a bit of social distancing has been practiced, and the farm is now even quieter and emptier than it was before. Didn't really know it could get any quieter or emptier, but there we go. But it's still been a place to escape. On the farm, I never seemed to worry about the ongoing pandemic. Maybe because I had hungry goats to feed, rowdy roosters to keep in check, plants to water, and of course, attention-starved donkeys to brush. Maybe that's all I need. After all, there are people and places who have been hit infinitely harder than I have.
We're all craving for this to be over, and I'm no different. We'll get through this, eventually.